people to hear my voice and just forget their troubles.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for this week's film show with critic Lisa Nesselson and myself. And we're starting with the film at the top of the box office in the UK and Ireland, which is out in France this week. Back to Black is a look at singer Amy Winehouse's rise to fame. I love the music in this, but do you think you have to be a fan to appreciate the film, Lisa?
No, you needn't be a fan to find this interesting, even rewarding. Here's the sassy, incredibly talented and ambitious young woman who admired jazz and crooners when her age bracket called for rock and roll with maybe a side order of punk on the side. She's very well portrayed by Marisa Abela, who does much of her own singing. The entire cast is giving their all to the story of a young woman who wanted fame and love and never really managed to have it all.
Well, Marisa Abela's singing is impressive. Here's a look at the film.
You gotta remember, I ain't no Spice Girl.
Amy Winehouse.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go away
I wanna be remembered
and I go
for just being me.
black.
Now, this is a film from Amy Winehouse's point of view. It doesn't have the same critical eye of the Amy Winehouse documentary that was out a few years ago that showed her husband and father in a terrible light.
Yeah, it's definitely on Amy's side as a lovesick vocal powerhouse, just trying to be a regular girl despite planetary fame and more Grammys than anyone could hold at once. Amy says at one point that she's not a feminist because, quote, I like boys too much. And certified bad boy Blake, who makes her heart skip beats, manages to deliver the line, I like to sabotage myself. It's hard not to yell at the screen, stop right there, bad idea, bad idea. The term emotional roller coaster is overused, but the film invites us into the amusement park of a life that's sometimes very amusing and sometimes deeply tragic. And that, of course, is the stuff of drama.
Well, the actress and the director, Sam Taylor-Johnson, were in Paris for the premiere. I asked the director about the challenge of finding the right person to play Amy.
As you can imagine, Amy was incredibly unique. So to try to find somebody, I had to really think about what I was looking for. And what I felt like I was looking for was not somebody who could give me a brilliant impersonation, of which there were amazing impersonations, incredible people. I need somebody who could embody her from the inside, so they could sort of tell the story where we connect emotionally, which is very different from when somebody just looks like somebody.
I liked this way more than I expected to. As portrayed here, you can read Amy as a strong-willed and firm in her taste person, or alternatively, kind of obnoxious. She knows what she likes in musical notes, lyrics, and men, and puts a curt end to anything that doesn't meet her personal standards. Amy's dad, Mitch, is portrayed infinitely more sympathetically than in the outstanding 2015 documentary Amy. He's played by Eddie Marsan. It's her beloved grandmother, Cynthia, who supports her ambitions and grasps her heartache. She is exquisitely embodied by Leslie Manville, whose range is almost as wide in acting as Amy's was in singing.
And tell us, Lisa, are you a fan of director Sam Taylor-Johnson's previous work?
Well, she does have a gift for films with a musical component linked to deep emotion. Her first feature was 2009's Nowhere Boy, in which her husband, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, played the young John Lennon. And there's talk of Aaron Taylor-Johnson being the next James Bond, which, as the foreword pointed out, will make him the first Jewish James Bond, which is fitting because Bond creator Ian Fleming is said to have based his iconic gentleman spy on a real-life man who happened to be a Jew.
Okay, we'll watch this space to find out the new James Bond. Next, out this week in France is an American independent film that was shot in San Francisco in the late 60s. It's never been released in France, or indeed most places until now. Bushman explores one Nigerian immigrant's experience living in the US. This is being described as a real gem, Lisa.
This is a truly special time capsule awash in still pertinent aspects that society needs to improve after almost 50 years after it was shot. It's entertaining, fascinating, and leads to a melancholy, real-life twist that no screenwriter would dare to try and get away with. It follows an African named Gabriel who travels to San Francisco in 1968. You see urban renewal demolishing whole neighborhoods. We meet a feisty, self-possessed black woman who takes Gabriel to a bar where the camera lingers over authentic ads aimed at selling beverages and cigarettes to black customers. And Gabriel, astonished, says, well, those are just like white people except for the color of their skin. Gabriel meets a young white woman who makes generic claims to being really interested in the black experience and the oppression of the black man, but is really mostly interested in betting Gabriel so she can figure out whether those rumors about the genitalia of black men have some merit. We see a frankly gay man who comes on to Gabriel, and the firm but compassionate way he turns him down.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the distinctive Bushman.
No shirt? Don't they drive you wild? I'm a bushman. I'm already wild.
Well, the film has a dark twist that we won't give away here, but it did start out as a very light-hearted project, didn't it?
Indeed, the director David Shickley joined the Peace Corps in 1961 and taught in Nigeria for 2 years. Among the friends he made was handsome, razor-sharp, and self-possessed Paul Ukpokam. When David returned to Nigeria a few years later, he made the documentary Give Me a Riddle and half-jokingly wondered what kind of film would result if instead of the privileged white American bringing his wisdom to Africa, an educated African came to America. So Paul came to the upheaval of late 1960s America to star in Bushman. It won Best First Film at the Chicago Film Festival back in 1971 and has been little seen since. Now restored, it's getting its due.
Okay, well, that's Bushman out in French cinemas this week. Next, Israeli director Dani Rosenberg's second film, The Vanishing Soldier, or Deserter, as it's called in French, seems timely. Tell us more.
As these things go, Rosenberg conceived and shot this breathless comedy with deadly serious undertones well before the war between Israel and Hamas started. But it feels especially topical, especially pertinent, but it's a good movie that doesn't require horrific true events to make it worth seeing. Shlomi is an 18-year-old military soldier doing his obligatory service. His unit is in Gaza. It's established almost immediately that heavy shelling that would have me jumping out of my skin is business as usual for these recruits. They barely flinch, much as residents of Tel Aviv take air raid sirens in stride. Now, humans, we know, can get acclimated to just about anything, but Shlomi has had it. By cover of night, with nothing but his uniform, his rifle, and bottomless chutzpah, he deserts.
Okay, well, let's take a look at Shlomi's very eventful day on the run from the Gaza Strip to Tel Aviv.
כמו דייג, כולם זורקים חכות, כולם. מוסד, מודיעין, שב"כ, כולם.
הבן שלי הוא ילד אחראי, הוא חזק, הוא נאמן, הוא יודע לתפקד במצבי לחץ. והוא לא מת.
And Lisa, you said this was a comedy?
Yes, well, the director whose first film was The Death of Cinema and my father says that the basic inspiration was Buster Keaton, that the movie should offer the cinematic thrills of chase scenes and slapstick, even if the stakes go way, way beyond mere entertainment. Shlomi's sweetheart, Cherie, who he met working at a popular Tel Aviv restaurant, is flying to Canada the next day to go to college. He lies, telling her, I have a few days leave. He's supposed to be ferreting out enemy combatants, but his love for Cherie is urgent, more urgent than his obligation. connections to his country. The military knows he's missing, but they have the wrong idea about what may have become of him. And that wrong idea ratchets up the story as Shlomi careens forward, stealing a phone here, swiping a bicycle there, and rarely thinking more than about a minute ahead. The film is very deft at showing how one private poor decision can take on a life of its own, and how the media and the military don't always get things right.
Okay, well, thank you for telling us about The Vanishing Soldier. And speaking of chase scenes, the late American director William Friedkin shot one of the most famous in The French Connection in 1971. And the Cinémathèque Française is holding a Friedkin retrospective until May the 5th.
Friedkin's filmography is dazzling. He's the guy who made The Exorcist, as well as the riveting To Live and Die in L.A. His film Sorcerer was a loose American remake of the French classic The Wages of Fear. It was reviled back in 1977 and is recognized as something unclassifiably bold today. The shoot was genuinely dangerous. Technicians and actors almost died, and that comes across on screen. He made TV series, documentaries, music videos, big-budget Hollywood fare, and small-budget independent films. The guy knew how to tell a story, how to get the best out of actors, and what to do with a camera. That's the essence of directing.
Okay, well, what a life. Lisa, thank you so much. We're going to leave you now with a look at some of William Friedkin's works. Thanks for watching. See you next time.